It's easy to think that when a period of intense trauma is over, you should be fine. But the trouble is, after traumatic experiences, you can be extremely vulnerable, not just to people who want to manipulate you, but to your own trauma-driven patterns of self-deception. Healing takes time, and sometimes the gravity of your mistakes only becomes real to you later. And then what do you do? My letter today is from a woman who I'll call Gretchen. And she writes, "Dear Anna, how do I let go of the guilt, fear, and shame from my past mistakes? I'm 32 and recently divorced. I had an affair with a married man, which ultimately led to my divorce. My ex-husband and I had been struggling for years. He was often distant and unavailable, and I coped with loneliness and alcoholism. When he discovered my affair, he threatened and assaulted me, and I eventually fled. Shortly after, he moved on with a new girlfriend and finally let me go. Meanwhile, the man I had the affair with confided in me about his own marital issues as well as his depression, and I felt drawn to help him." I've got my fairy pencil, by the way. I'm circling things I want to come back to on a second reading here. But let's go through and see what Gretchen's got going on. "We were in a long-distance, quote, relationship that lasted a year. We shared a deep emotional connection, and he promised we'd be together once he was divorced. It felt like we were soulmates. But over time, he distanced himself, and his behavior became hurtful. When he suggested we be friends, I refused, and we ended all contact. I tried to move on, but seeing him share posts about his family made it harder, so I unfollowed and removed every trace of him. More than a year later, his wife reached out asking if we had been intimate. Her words were harsh. I blocked her, but still feel a wave of guilt and anxiety. I'm afraid she might continue reaching out, and I'm struggling to understand why I'm still haunted by these feelings. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to move on from this, and I don't know what to do. Thank you for reading." And that's Gretchen. Okay, Gretchen, I'm really sorry this has transpired for you. I want to see if I can help here. You're recently divorced. Your marriage ended because of your affair with a married man. Your husband was abusive to you when you disclosed it. So I suppose one good thing is you got out of that. And sometimes people don't get out of relationships without having having an affair with somebody, having some kind of a temporary relationship to pull them out of where they are now. So at least you're out. Then you said, meanwhile, the man that you had the affair with confided about his own marital issues as well as his depression, and you wanted to help. And you were in a long-distance relationship. It lasted a year, and you had a deep emotional connection. He promised you'd be together once he was divorced. So I realize that some people have actually ended up together through this, but it's so often not the case that it's like a cliche on TV. And I don't mean to say that you're a cliche, but I just mean to say, for you and for anybody listening, you can have a boundary where you don't get involved with anybody who's married, no matter what they promise. Because even if, let's just say he made good on the promise and you really were going to be together, he was lying to somebody else. You knew he was lying to somebody else, and you continued anyway. And when you ask me, why can't I shake this guilt? And I would just say, I don't see evidence that you really are facing reality about the role that you have played in hurting his family and even hurting him, even if it's what he wants. If you really want to live emotionally free and without guilt, you've got to move to a higher level. And what's done is done, but you can move to a higher level where you never do this again. And I just recommend this to everybody. Make this a boundary. Do not get involved with people who are entangled with somebody else. And he was more than entangled. He was married. And I get this, I share 2 letters a week on this channel. And so many of them are from people who went along with that idea. Like, it's just for now. He really loves me. It's going to work out. We're doing the right thing. And then it doesn't work out. And, if we just put ourselves in this man's shoes for a while, he's done something terribly wrong. He's done something wrong to you and to his wife. But he's not the only one, right? He's not the only one. He has a partner in crime. Now, what he's done wrong to his wife is so egregious that how could anybody be happy after doing that? How could anybody be happy? He's a free agent. If he really needs to be out of his marriage, he can be out of the marriage, but he isn't. And so I just am sending out the wake-up call to everybody who may be currently in a relationship with somebody who has to lie about the relationship because somebody who has a prior claim to their commitment would be devastated. It's not just that you're hurting somebody else, but the fact, like, to have a relationship with somebody who's not willing to face the music on their own decisions like that, it is the ultimate red flag that they will not face the music on you. So they end up drifting away. And that's what you have. So you dealt with it. He said, oh, you'd be friends. Good job. Being friends, old idea, very old idea about what people who are partners in crime can be. It's really like nobody wants to say goodbye to each other because there is a friendship there, but it cannot continue. You know, it's time when in a situation like this, it's no contact. And so you did it. You got away and you ended contact. And I'm sure seeing posts about his family hurt you. And it sounds like that's the way he decided to go. He wasn't really getting divorced. Maybe he knew that, maybe he didn't know that, but either way. So then more than a year later, she found out and she contacted you. And this is the worst situation. In most situations, we owe it to people to be honest with them. But in this one, you could be betraying, you know, you can't really you can't make it right with another wrong. And it's really between them what happened. And if he's lying to her, if he's fudging about it, it's their problem. And you were part of the problem. But you can't really spill the beans on him. I would not advocate that. I would leave this to them. Two wrongs don't make a right. That's the phrase I was looking for. Two wrongs don't make a right. And so when you had this secret thing with him where, you know, you could think of it this way. I'm not trying to guilt trip you, but I want you to like face this reality. You're stealing from a family who needs that guy paying full attention. Now, everybody's going to get attracted to other people from time to time, but their family needs their loving attention, needs their presence, emotional and physical presence. They need the future with that person. So it's a very serious thing to go in and disrupt that. No matter what your good intentions were, that's not a good thing to do. It doesn't matter how obvious it seems that it's the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. If it is the right thing to do, the person can end their marriage, become free, and then, you know, see how it goes with you. It's very inconvenient that the people that you may fall in love with, you know, are not available. It hurts. It's sad. And they may be really convinced and telling you, you know, this is so much better. I'm so much happier. It's wrong where I am. And that may be true. But if it's true, they can act on it and close up that commitment they've made. They can close up that commitment they've made and become free again to date. So you've gotten into a situation where there is no good way out. There's no good way out. But my opinion, don't talk to her. I'm glad you blocked her. Let them, those two need to work it out. And I sympathize with her need for honesty. It sounds like he's BSing her about what happened, and she knows on some level. And she wants you to buddy up. But the thing is, yeah, this is something they should work out on their own. And it's a tough call. So I'm really sorry you're in that situation. So let me tell you what you can do. This is what you can do now to get out of your guilt. While I don't recommend that you reach out to the wife about it, because that could really hurt her more than not reaching out, instead, I'd like you to prepare to apologize to her. You probably are never going to do it. You never know. Life may present an opportunity where it's exactly the right thing to do. I would not advocate going behind the man's back or, you know, sabotaging the way that he's trying to handle it. This is between them. But what you can do is you can write the letter apologizing for what you did and really think about it. Really think about it and have that letter, stash it away where no one's ever going to see it. You probably are never going to need to give it to her. You might bump into her, and because the situation is right, you will have done the work. You will have done the groundwork to understand what the apology is. So this is what a good apology is. You say, I wanted to tell you that I'm so very sorry for what I did. And then you say what you did. And this is where it's so critical that you can be honest with yourself. And you might need to work with, you know, a 12-step sponsor, a therapist, a close friend, somebody in our membership community to help you get clear about what it is you're apologizing for. Worse than never apologizing is going in with a fake apology and going, look, I'm sorry I just did what he told me to do, or I'm sorry I just did what you didn't want, you justifying yourself. That is how you can really hurt people. If you don't have anything completely contrite to say, don't say anything at all. But if you really do want to clear it up with the letter that you're going to prepare and hide, just in case the opportunity is ever there, you can say, I'm truly sorry for what I did. And then think through, how would it affect you if somebody had done this to you? And you can say that. If somebody had done that to me, I would have felt, Say that. I understand that this cost you whatever it is that you want to put in there, trust, security, a future, whatever it is. And I'm truly sorry. And I hope you can forgive me. And as, depending on what the situation is, you can add in, I don't think in this case you can be helpful by offering to talk or anything. I think it's better to just stay away. But in other types of apologies, you can offer up your availability for that. When you're apologizing, you never bring up any justification, even if there is one. You never bring up the other person's role in the problem, even if there is one. You just apologize for your part. If you want to feel better after an apology, this is how to do it. Clean. I call it a clean apology. You don't bring up other people. You just say, this is what I did. If it had been done to me, I would have felt this way. I hope you can forgive me. And some people will say, oh, sure. And some people will say, there's nothing to forgive. And some people will say, no, I never can forgive you. And no matter how it comes out, you have done your footwork. You have released yourself from responsibility. Now, in the situation where you would do double harm if you were to have contact with her and possibly undermine their future as a couple because of saying different things or ganging up or anything like that, you don't want to be that person. Let them work it out. And if a day comes that he has passed away or something, where it's completely over with them and he is not, I don't know, I don't really see a scenario where it's appropriate to talk to her. But you have talked to yourself and you've talked to your higher power about what you know your role to be. So that's how you do it. And if you give it a try, you can see the guilt will lift. The guilt will lift. And then you just hang out and wait. I've had to do apologies like, horrible apologies for horrible things that I did, sometimes directly. One time, just preparing the apology for somebody I never intended to contact, ran into them on the street. It tumbled right out of my mouth because I knew how I felt about it. I knew what the completion of what I needed to express was, and it came out. And it was great. I wasn't bothered by that memory ever again, because I cleaned up my part. It's not like we became friends afterwards or anything. So you'll see what happens. If you have had an experience with this, let us know how it went in the comments. I would appreciate it. A lot of people here in the Crappy Childhood Fairy community and in the YouTube comments have had the same experience you've had. They've been one player or another in that triangle. And so many of us have suffered with relationships. There is such a connection between a history of trauma in your childhood and odd patterns in the way that you have romantic relationships now. And if you think your trauma from the past is affecting you now in the way you have relationships, you can check against a list of symptoms I've created for you. You can get that right here, and I will see you very soon.